Hello, my friends. Welcome to Let's Talk, produced by Wise Mindly Inc. I'm your host, Coach Shay Marville. In this space, we dive into transformative conversations that hopefully inspire you to grow, heal, and have a deeper connection to yourself and to the world around you. So let's talk, let's connect, let's grow together. Now, hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk. My name is Shay Marville, and I have the very delicious and awesome privilege of having one of Canada's top 100 powerful women from WXN on our podcast today, Dr. Carolyn Power. Man, this woman, I shouldn't say man, I should say this woman. I don't know what her secret sauce is, but we are going to hear about her and her work. As the CEO of the CDNHR Group and the founder of the Canadian HR Academy, Sensitivity Training Canada, and the CTMP Society of Canada, she's going to tell us all about how those three organizations intersect and how they have evolved, and how she's just changing the game of learning in this most remarkable country in a really extraordinary time. Dr. Carolyn, I feel so privileged to have you here. Thank you for joining me on Let's Talk.
Welcome. My pleasure. It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, oh my good, where shall we start? Maybe tell us a little bit about what you are doing day to day, and then we'll go back into time and get into your origin story, because that's quite interesting.
Sure.
You do say so.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here, Shay, and to all of our listeners. It's a delight to have a chance to engage with you. So day to day, I run a CDNHR Group, and CDNHR Group is a portfolio of companies. All of the companies are in the same space, but they provide services to different parts of the market, different demographics. And so we market ourselves differently, and the branding is different in no particular order. Canadian HR Academy is an academy for HR professionals. Sensitivity Training Canada is a company where we provide workplace learning solutions to help make workplaces more psychologically safe. We do that primarily to organizations for their employees, but we do some work for individuals who are looking for services as well. The other business that we have is Worldwide Workplace Learning. Worldwide Workplace Learning is a repository of online courses for all things to do with workplaces. So how to learn to drive a forklift, how to manage stress, if you're an HR professional, how to manage your operations, cybersecurity, anything to do with any kind of workplace. You can go to Worldwide Workplace Learning and you can get an online course if you're looking for online courses and if you're looking for self-directed learning. Worldwide Workplace Learning is a business that I think about as my Amazon for workplace learning, where you can, and the language I often use is, you can swim up to the shores of Worldwide Workplace Learning at 2:00 in the morning, do a few clicks, put some things in your basket, check out, and you've got some courses. So that is a business that's my newest business. I formed that business in 2020 during the pandemic. It was during the pandemic, and I realized that I needed to have a business that was plug and play online, because that's where the world has gone.
Well, I was going to ask you, because it seems like workplace programming has just been turned on its head. And I was really interested in knowing how have you changed the workplace learning process? Like, what are you introducing, or is it the way you're teaching that's different now, or training? Teaching or what's
training? It is training, because the work that we are doing is for working professional, working or not working. Some people are unemployed, but it's for professionals. It's not elementary or childhood education. It's adult education. So it's really training people, putting skills that they can use to earn commercial supports, so to earn money, or to better self. It's not always commercial. Sometimes it's to better self as well. So, but what the training is about, giving people skills, and then by giving them skills, they build competencies, and then by them building competencies, they build capabilities. That's what we do.
So it's not the it's not the organization that sends you to do the training. It's you as an individual you go after the training or go for
It's
the
both. It's both.
both.
It's both. So one of the things that I mentioned a little earlier, which wasn't, I didn't say it directly, I said it indirectly, is that the different businesses provide services to different demographics. So, for example, Canadian HR Academy primarily markets first to people, to individuals. They find the courses and the programs, and they sometimes self-support, self-sponsor. Sometimes they go to their employer and ask their employer to provide that the financial support. That is Canadian HR Academy. Through Sensitivity Training Canada, that is largely a B2B business, not a B2C business. So through Sensitivity Training Canada, it is largely organizations that are our clients and that are looking for services for their people, their staff. And sometimes it is individuals that are looking for that service. Some other times it is regulatory bodies. So regulators of professionals. Right. These are organizations that have members that have, for some reason, have done something or said something that's inappropriate, and they bring us on. So for Canadian HR Academy, it's B2C largely.
Yes.
For Worldwide Workplace Learning, it's B2B and C, and for Sensitivity Training Canada, it's B2B.
How did you get inspired to create this ecosystem?
Right. How did I come to this? So that's the question of what called me to the field of workplace learning. Well, I think that if I go right back to my early childhood days, I always wanted to be a teacher. So at the time, the language wasn't educator, it was teacher. I wanted to be a teacher because I was surrounded by teachers. I was surrounded by teachers and principals in around my personal situation. So I wanted to be a teacher. I remember being a little girl with dolls and teaching my dolls, lining them up and having school. And, that was my thing. And so I went through my own schooling and never did go to teachers college. I did an undergraduate degree in business. I did my first master's degree is a business, an MBA degree. And so never did go to teachers college, but about 10 years into my professional career, so just out of MBA, I started teaching part-time, and I started teaching part-time in a post-secondary institution. Part-time. This was literally a hobby. It was a hobby. It was because it was so much a hobby to the point where I remember when I was super excited when I got my first section to teach. I was part-time and I was going to be teaching this. At the time, I think I was at the bank as a senior director. But I was so excited because I always wanted to teach. And I remember that what they were paying me to teach the course was actually less than what the parking cost. True story. I remember, but I was so excited because I was getting a chance to teach. And somehow at that point, I didn't have the aperture, the lens on the opportunity wasn't that, in my mind, wasn't as clear as it is now. But at that time, somehow, even though it wasn't as clear, somewhere in my instinct, I had a feeling that that door at the time, was going to be a door that led to a door that led to a door that led to the door. And that's exactly what happened, because I remember when I think it was the academic chair at the time said, "Oh, okay, we're going to ask you to teach this section September to December." And I was walking back to my car, just bouncing back to the parking lot. And it just dawned on me that I'm on the right path. And so, long answer to your question, what led me to this work is my early interest in teaching, and then, of course, getting that first section and succeeding, because my student evaluations that December,
yes,
the first semester that I taught, the student evaluations were they were
off the chart.
AAA, like, I mean, and that set up my upward spiral, because then I realized that, okay, I guess I'm probably good at this. I have a thing here. And so then I got another section. And at the time when I was an executive at the bank and started to teach, I didn't teach every semester because my schedule didn't permit it. But whenever I did accept a section from the administration at the university, I remember that my student evaluations were always sending me the same message. And it was the universe of the students sending me that message that further propelled me up that spiral.
What was that message, actually? And we didn't, chat a lot about what we would talk about, because I really I just wanted to give my friends and audience a chance to meet somebody who wasn't handed anything
Oh my gosh, no.
and it created
No.
something very unusual that is of great need. Like, what was the feedback? Like, this is so interesting to
Yeah,
me. What was
yeah.
the feedback that you heard that affirmed that you were on the right path?
Well, lots of feedback, but let me distill it very quickly then. So, certainly feedback that I was able to distill ideas and concepts into bite-sized chunks that people were able to understand. So that came through very clearly. Feedback that people felt safe and felt comfortable. Feedback that people wanted to learn. And feedback, and this last one is not certainly by no means the least, but is feedback that I get today, and I'm bringing it up because I hope we have a chance to talk about this last feedback. Feedback that people were finding themselves feeling inspired by me, by seeing me and seeing that this is possible and you can do this. And so it's all of those things that sort of came together for me. As it turns out, I mean, as I said, I started teaching, part-time, and then I eventually became, when I left corporate initially, I became an academic chair. So I started as a part-time prof, doing a hobby thing. And then I actually became the chair. I was the chair that had a team of faculty. And I was academic chair in Ontario as well as in Nova Scotia. And I've taught at a number of the institutions, U of T, Ryerson, a number of the colleges, and been a chair. So then when I realized that I had the actual teaching experience and I had the academic administration experience put together, then I also went and did an MEd, and here I am, and I parlayed it out into entrepreneurship.
So when you were doing the MEd, you just wanted to continue to grow as an educator. Did you know at that time that you were going to leave the banking industry and start this endeavor?
Well, it's an interesting thing because now you and I are having this conversation 15 years into my business. So, at the time, so now it's clear. It's like everything is like the lanes are clear and so forth. But at the time, and I think this is the truth for many people who start a business. It's not so clear. You kind of peel the layers of the onion as you go, and as you get to one layer, then you go, okay, I'll go here, and so certainly when I got into the University of Toronto, that's where I did my Master of Education. When I was in that program, I was a little bit of a unicorn in that I had come into a sociology-based environment. So it's the social sciences, that's what education is, with a business lens. Because I did an MBA, and my MBA was not an HR MBA or strategy. My MBA was a finance MBA. So a finance MBA, a finance mind is 1 and 1 always has to equal 2. And it's black and white, and we've got formulas, and we're doing derivatives, and we're doing finance, right? So a quant, even though my first degree is a HR degree.
So your first degree is HR.
My first degree is HR. Then I did a finance MBA. But that's a story I can tell you how I managed to change course. But anyway.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that because again, it's all of these rivers.
Completely.
Places, yes.
Completely. So when I got to U of T and was doing the MEd, I was different in that way because most of my colleagues were people who were either educators, they had a Bachelor of Education and they were doing a Master of Education, down that side. I was coming in as a finance MBA. So one of the things that was just terrific, completely just terrific, and changed my way of thinking and just broadened my way of thinking was the fact that with the Master of Education training and education, it helped me fill in the shades of gray between the black and white thinking that I had. Because I say black and white thinking because black and white thinking is you've got formulaic, you've got formulas, you've got the math, you've got the numbers, you've got what the formula for the Black-Scholes derivative model is, you've got the formulas. Education, the education degree was the shades of gray that said, well, it depends. And we looked at the sociological pieces, we looked at diversity pieces, we looked at how adults learn. All of those things absolutely gave me depth and breadth and made me realize that I wanted to go out and do something beyond work in financial services. I wanted to help people navigate socially to different places. And so that's how I...
Why? But why?
Well, because I think when I did the, you see, I'm interrupting myself, but let me say this. When you do a finance MBA, it is really based on capitalism and capital structure and capitalist types of ideas. And quite frankly, money and more money and more money and more profit.
And the things that make the world run.
Sure, right? So nothing, and by the way, my first 2 degrees are business degrees, so I'm certainly very commercial. When I did the MEd, Master of Education, this is sociologically based. This is about society and people and how people live and how people learn and how people understand and so forth. And so that helped me learn and helped me understand that not everybody's capitalist, not everybody has resources, not everybody blah, blah. And so bringing those two lanes or verticals together helped me want to answer the question, so what are you going to be doing about it? What can you do? I can't boil the ocean. I can't fix the world. I can't do it all, but you can do something. And so for me, based on my childhood interest of education, this is my lane. I can't do everything everybody else can do. I can do what I can do. And what I can do and do best is something that is at the intersection of my strength, my interests, and my values, because that's where my zone of genius resides.
Listen, please say this again, because
absolutely,
this is a struggle for so many. Talk to us about that intersection between.
Absolutely. I'll say it again. So when I learned, because everybody, nobody knows everything. We can all learn. So when I did my MEd, I learned some things. Yes. And then the question I asked myself is, okay, what can you do? I couldn't do it all, but I can do some things. And so when I went inside myself to figure it out, I realized that what I can do and what I need to be able to do is something that intersects, that is at the intersection of my strengths, my interests, and my values. Something that is at the intersection of those things, something I'm good at, something that I'm interested in, and something that I value. That's where anybody's zone of genius resides. And so for me, my personal situation, everybody's different. My personal interest way back from as early as I can remember myself, always wanted to teach. And the bigger thing about teaching is helping. For some people, helping is nursing or being a physician. For me, it was teaching. And I'm interested in that. Plus, I'm good at it. I got the feedback. And then society values it. And I value it.
And you value
it. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I keep saying for me because your formula is different. But for me, that clicked. That yes. clicked. And so I thought
magic.
That clicked. That was the zone. That's it. And I thought, okay, all right, let's go.
So you were really like in a process of continuous reinvention.
Oh, yes.
As you went through every phase.
Like that is why I talk about the onion and the layers, because now I'm looking through the rearview mirror. So it may seem to be, it all flowed when you're in the thing, I'm still in the, because in 20 years, I'm going to be looking back at some things and realize, but back at the time, early days, it was very much to your point, doing this and then the next step and the next step and sometimes stepping back and sometimes going into a holding pattern and then moving along.
Did you said you came from a family of teachers and principals or people who were in the educational field, or a few people?
Well, so my personal birth story is that my mother, and I put this on LinkedIn not that long ago, my mother abandoned me when I was a 2-month-old infant.
I'm sorry.
So, yes. And so my father, I'm a daddy's girl. My father, love my dad. My dad was left with this infant.
Where was that?
This is in Jamaica.
In Jamaica, your dad was left with
my dad was left with a 2-month-old baby. Yes. And so he raised me alone with the helpers and so forth and people to support. But my dad raised me until I was 9 years old. And when I was 9 years old, I don't know his mind, but I think the thinking was that he needed somebody to help him because I was becoming a young lady and so forth. Yeah. And so he put me in the care of a clergywoman, and she was very well educated and well-traveled and so forth. And she took me under her wing and raised me, along with my dad's support, of course, and so forth, from there into the person that I am today. She is my de facto mom. She's passed away now, unfortunately. But I remember when I went and did my MEd, one of the things that I learned, one of the early things that I learned was I realized that the single greatest influence on a child's level of education is maternal educational attainment. I remember when I came across that, and I think I might have been the first course. I thought, oh, I get that. Yeah, that's the research shows that. And then this woman who I talk about, very well educated. And now I see how, even though I had early interest in education, I understand now. I see now why I showed up, why I am the way I am, because in our house, she was all about education. She was all about, so when I talk about teachers and so forth, it wasn't necessarily my own family. It was just who I was surrounded by.
Right. But there was a very traumatic and dramatic experience that happened to you at really
Early on.
at birth, and also to your father, really, right?
Yes. Yes.
But because of the care and the nourishment, you felt you had agency and you felt seen, it sounds like,
Well,
and deeply cared for.
well, Che, I'm quite impressed at how you're able to zero in on things, because I'll tell you that, let me comment on the first thing first and I'll do the
Yes,
second
yes,
thing.
yes.
So the trauma with my birth mother, the woman who birthed me, exiting, sure, that existed, but I actually was an infant, so I
Yes.
don't have any connectivity
Memory.
to that. No, zero. But the second piece I want to add here is this, to say that my father is the person who gave me my self-esteem. Because I hear people, you read about and you hear about people who, and no judgment at all, but some people have very low self-esteem and just truly don't like self and so forth. Never had that, because I was always this
Yeah.
princess. I was always this princess. I remember it was my dad and I, and we would go to the pool. He would take me to the pool and neighborhood pool, and he'd put me up on the edge and he'd go back in the water and he'd say, jump, jump. And I remember now as an adult, I look at that and I used to jump with wild abandon, never, just so sure he would catch me. That kind of
Yes.
trust. Little girl. I mean, I don't know how old I was, but I just remember going to the pool.
Yes,
We
yeah.
roll out the towels and go to the pool. And I was in the car and I was like, oh, we're getting the pool. And just more than the love and more than anything else that my dad ever gave me, he gave me this thing inside, the self-esteem. And so confidence has never been an issue. I'm not saying I always had things figured out. No. But I just never
No.
questioned my value and my worth. Never.
No, it was the Canadian scientist and physician Fraser Mustard, right, who talked a lot, not talked a lot, did a lot of research about the first 3 years, right, and those early years of childhood that really set the pattern
Yes.
for who you are and
You become.
and
Yes.
who you become. And I imagine also how you are able to receive information and whether or not you have the confidence to learn. Like, because I think learning requires confidence.
Sure. I believe so. I believe you have to be confident. And here's the thing too. And again, I go to my dad for this, because one of the great things that he did was he gave me an opportunity to have the best available level of early education. I go back to education, early education, because the reason that is so key is because the strength of a child's early education, notwithstanding a child's own capability, everybody has their own capability, genetic piece. But based on how well that is, how solid the early education is, we are then better able to scaffold. In education, there's a term called scaffolding, where we can
Yes.
build upon and build upon. That's why in education, we've got the grade system. You've got to pass, you get to grade 1 and grade 2 and grade 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So because I had solid early education, private schools, solid, not that it has to be private schools. It can be public, it can be all kinds of different.
Of course.
But
It's about reinforcement and a
because
framework.
I had a very strong early base, it has helped me be able to access and attain the highest levels of academic outcomes and achievement, because my early base was so strong. And of course, in the later years as an adult, I have chosen to do different things. Some people might stop at different points, and it's not bad or good or green or orange. It's just that in my case, I was interested in going to higher levels and was able to, because my early scaffolding was in place. My father helped me with that, because in some cases, some people don't have the opportunity, for all kinds of reasons, don't have the opportunity to get that kind of base of of education.
My goodness, I have so many questions that are intersecting in my mind. But just back to the woman who became your
Sister Julia,
adopted
Sister Julia, call her
Sister
that. That's
Julia.
who she
Okay.
is. She's a deaconess.
Oh, okay. So did you feel like she was your mother, or did you feel like she was your guardian?
Absolutely, my mother.
She was your mother.
My
Yeah.
mother. My mother. She was a deaconess, a clergy
Yeah.
woman. Didn't have any children of her own, and clergy women were not allowed. She wasn't a nun, but she was for that
Time.
faith. For that faith, she was a nun. Nuns are Roman Catholic. She wasn't Roman Catholic, but
Anglican?
Methodist.
Methodist.
So she took me as I was her child, but she had another young lady, a girl. We're women, but we were girls. She had another girl.
Charge.
He in her charge, but that girl, who's my dear lifelong friend, she was a legal ward for Sister Julia. I was not. My father, I was in boarding with her.
Yes.
So I'd go home on holidays and weekends and so forth. But the other person, she was Sister Julia's legal ward. Sister Julia was her guardian.
Fascinating. I wonder though, in talking about the early childhood and the foundation that is so critical, what happens when you're now living in this new world? It's 2025, the economy is different, the pandemic has turned the whole world upside down, AI learning, lots of things that are true and untrue. Many of us have to remake ourselves, reinvent ourselves.
Yeah.
What if you don't feel confident about your ability to learn?
So here's the thing about when I talked about that early scaffolding.
Yes.
That early scaffolding, so early education,
Yes.
that is about the foundation around literacy and numeracy. Right. So this is not advanced. This is early days. And some people, that have a solid base there. And so they have the ability to do different things, whether or not they choose to. So that strong foundation, literacy, numeracy foundation is applicable and is necessary in any environment. It simply is there and to help us do what we want to do, should we choose to do it.
Yes.
When we have that in place, we are probably necessarily going to be more confident because it's not just the willingness to do, it's the ability to do. How far can you, right? And sure, they're always upgrading courses and always things you can take. But some people, it's a little bit tougher, not because they're not bright, but because the early pieces may not have been in place.
And that foundation of scaffolding, of moving, once you pass one thing and learn one thing, you get to the next place. It builds a pattern and a self-knowledge.
That I can do this. I can do this.
Able to learn.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's why I wonder though, because you're working predominantly all with adults now.
Yeah.
Right? That's all your programs are with adults.
Completely.
Do you see the need to create a kind of scaffolding for adult learning? Is that part of what you do in the training, or
we don't, because what I talk about, those early days, that is not typical. That is always going to be in elementary and early elementary learning, where the kids at the time, they are kids. The kids are just getting the basics.
Just
getting the basics. I'm saying that that's the stepping stone. I'm saying that some people, for all kinds of reasons, maybe their parents just weren't able to, all kinds of reasons, all kinds of good reasons. Some people just didn't have access, some others don't. And then some might have access to the highest standards. It's just something that enables, but some people, even without very early access, can still scale the heights because they may become creative and do things and all kinds of things.
Well,
my story.
The compulsion, the human compulsion to survive no matter what, it allows us to become different things in different environments.
Absolutely.
And depending on your own spiritual belief, depending on your ability in yourself to believe that you can learn, like these things all transform what you can and cannot do. But for you, as you move towards teenagehood and then from teenagehood to adulthood, how did you start to perceive yourself as a person who could go to great heights? You were saying earlier, evolution.
Yeah, it's interesting because as a teenager, I don't know that I thought about these things. It's just now, we're now in my age and my stage. I look back and I try to understand it, understand the journey. But as a teenager, like anybody else, I was probably trying to be cool and just trying to fit in and so forth. But I don't think I looked at the whole picture the way I do now necessarily as a teenager.
And when do you think you went through a transformation where you realized I I could build my own company. I don't need to necessarily work for someone. I could build my
Mm.
own business.
Well, yes, that was well past teenage years. Yes, yes, because my story is that I went to school, got a good job,
Yeah.
and school for me was undergraduate and then master's. That was to me, that was school, the full thing. And I did very well very early. So did well in the Canadian ecosystem of financial services because I post MBA. So right out of MBA, I was hired by Big Blue, large corporate. I've worked at Big Blue, large companies, and then went down to their headquarters. General Electric is the company, one of the companies I worked at for a long time. And did well early, did well early. So when I finished my MBA, my first job was a regional manager job, regional manager, Central Canada and the Maritimes. So did well there. And then
Huge job.
big jobs. Yeah. And that was a starting, yeah, but yeah, regional manager. And then went down to headquarters in Stamford, GE Capital, and came back into the Canadian system as an AVP and moved into the bank into senior roles. For me, the turning point was when I realized that performance reviews were strong, solid. The feedback was always not in performance reviews, but in the messaging. Whatever points I raised, whatever discoveries or whatever I did, if somebody else said the same thing, that got amplified. Didn't get amplified if it came from me. And please don't get me wrong. This is not all the time. This is some of the times. But when I started to put it together, my ideas are strong, clearly wanted, clearly being used. You could see some of the things I brought forward that were moving the needle. But
Yes.
I realized that I had more than the system was willing to accept. I had more in me to give. So I might have been many years, I don't know, 10, 15 years in my career that I decided that if the question I asked myself, I remember the morning, the question I asked myself was, if not now, when? And so I decided I was going to step out. But to be very completely transparent, I did not quit my day job without a job. I did not do that.
Yes.
I launched my business while I was still employed. And I actually had my business. I wasn't running it, but I had it, and I even had it incorporated actually. And I had the odd client on a Saturday and this kind of thing. My business was different than it is today. But and so I did that for 5 years. And after 5 years, then I went to the question of if not now, when, and then I launched out. Then I said, no, I need to do this because I realized that there's so much inside and so much talent and interest and passion together, all of those things. And I thought the world needs to hear some of what I have and put that out there.
So fascinating. And did you have a model of what a successful educational business could look like? Or
I didn't.
You
I
didn't.
didn't. It's because when I started my business, it wasn't that. When I started my business, it was consulting services. So it was in HR, and it is still in HR, and it was the entire gamut though. So like most HR consultancies are. So there was we did recruiting, we did training, we did coaching, we did all of it. And then probably about 3 years after I decided to fully focus on this, then I realized that no, I needed to pick a lane because it's multi-vertical.
Of course.
HR is multidisciplinary. And so I decided to pick a lane, and picking a lane is really niching down on something. And so for me, that is because of who I am, education is the place where I decided to niche down because I have the strength, I have the interest, and I'm very good at it.
Now, do you think your age played a role in deciding to go full throttle into building a huge educational business? Like, do you think you came to a point where you said, it's not just that I'm not enough, I'm not being able to be enough in this environment, but I'm at a point in my life where I feel confident enough to do it.
You know what, Shay? It's not in my, again, of course, I qualifying
Of
because
course.
people are watching. It's not age. It's not age for me because for me, age is a number. It's just a number. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's not age at all. It still isn't age. It is no absolute. It was not even a consideration in my mind. Not age. It's just it was a time where I realized that if you don't do it now, when are you going to?
Yes,
Tomorrow
yeah.
never comes, and like, just jump in. And it wasn't. It still isn't easy. It wasn't easy then. Still isn't easy now.
Was it money? Like, was it the idea of building a very strong, healthy financial economy, like for yourself
It
and your
wasn't.
family?
It wasn't. You see, because an education business coming from where I am coming from isn't about me only. It's about
Okay.
helping. It's about
Yeah.
helping people. It's about helping to equip people so that they can find their way and maximize what it is they're trying to do, whatever that looks like
Yeah.
for them. So it is never, it still isn't. So I say present tense. It's never about bigger dollars. It's not about that. It's about being a solution to what society needs. I cannot be the only solution. There are other people doing things, but I can be a
Yes.
solution in some things that I can do. And my thing is to help equip people. And so, yes, there has to be a commercial interest because I have to put food on my table. So for
Yeah.
sure, but it is a blend and a marriage between self-supporting and providing a service in the marketplace, doing good.
And it goes
It's
back
both.
to the idea of your strength and your values.
Yes, your strength
Like,
and your interest and your values,
yes,
because you have to be interested in it. Yeah.
of course, and being of service to all three.
Correct. And that is why I think that is in my case, and I often read about it, but I found that it's true for me, that it is so important for us to be of service to society. And that is why the business is successful. It's successful because you're being of service. If you're not being of service and you're just doing it for commercial gain, I'm not sure I'm not sure how long that might be well received.
Now, how can people find you? How can they connect with you or the work that you're doing or find out more about what you're doing?
Absolutely. LinkedIn is the place on social media where I can be followed. So Dr. Caroline Power on LinkedIn. And if anybody is interested in the overall corporate entity, it's cdnhr.com. So CDN, short for Canada,
Yeah.
Canadian, cdnhr.com. That's our corporate website. And you can click in the box and it'll come through. Or if you're interested in Canadian HR Academy, all Sensitivity Training Canada, all one word.com. Worldwide Workplace Learning is www.lrn.com. That's where you can find us.
Awesome. You know what? One more question for you, actually. It's a big one. You use the term sensitivity
Yeah.
over diversity. Is that a conscious decision or is it because it's different
It's
for,
because it's different. I'm glad you asked me that. It's because it's different. And what you just shared is a common, perhaps, misunderstanding that people
yes.
have, mistake that people make. It's not the same thing at all. Sensitivity training is at the intersection of human rights and labor and employment law in workplaces. That's what sensitivity training is. So it is about how people manage interactions with each other and how do they do that in the context of the prevailing human rights constraints in their province or their territory? I say in workplaces because my lane is workplace, it's not outside. And so that's what sensitivity training is. We do in Sensitivity Training Canada, we do have one diversity offering, but the rest of our offerings are not diversity related. Diversity, when I think about it, I don't operate in that space. I don't have any expertise in diversity training, or is about somehow trying to ensure that there is equity in processes so that everybody, regardless of who they are, is supported in a way that they need to be supported and everybody has access. So, but they're two different things. Yes, they're two different things.
So fascinating. So fascinating. And especially now with so much complexity in the workplace, I really love that you're offering multiple ways in to the
Yeah,
workplace ecosystem and helping professionals become certified, to grow, to learn something new,
absolutely.
to expand their
Absolutely.
skills.
Absolutely. I want to add one other piece before we go. I remember,
Tell
so
me.
one of the things that I said earlier that I said I would hope we had a chance to talk about was I was recently on LinkedIn and there was a woman who posted that she had just got up and started a business and moved to New York and just, she was chronicling all the risks she took and how well things are going now, and just a real great story. And I saw that she was also a University of Toronto Master of Education graduate. So I liked it and I commented and I said, I don't know you, but I am so happy for you and your courage and so forth. And I had no idea that don't know the person. I don't. She wrote back. She responded to she replied to my comment. She said, I was at an event where you spoke about 15 years ago and you inspired me so much and you were a part of the reason I made the move. And so this just happened yesterday. I think I saw it on LinkedIn and I thought, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You
Wow.
just don't true like yes, 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 yes. And her initial comment, her initial chronicle has just I think thousands of comments and likes but I don't remember. Of course I don't know her, but
No.
she actually addressed me by name. She said
Yeah.
you talk and so for me that really brought full circle. Besides the awards that I have had, I've won the Inspire Award from Women's, not WXM, but another organization. And
Yes.
besides the daily testimonials, here is someone who in society who I don't know and didn't have no idea who this is. And she actually said, you
And you actually had an impact on her by telling the truth of your
well,
story.
I wasn't telling my story. I was doing
Oh, you weren't.
it wasn't, no, it was, I guess, because I do a lot for my various universities, I do talks and things
Yes, of
on the
course.
speaker
Yes.
and on my speaker circuits. And I presume she likely was in an audience, one of the audiences somewhere. But the reason I share it here and for your guests to listen is to say, not to talk necessarily about myself, but to say that we have to keep everybody, all of us, we need to keep managing ourselves and rowing our boat, but we all sometimes don't realize the positive impact we're having on other people who are watching and we don't even notice them or know who they are. But here is a story where I'm on LinkedIn and I get this and it just floors me because I think, wow. And
Wow.
she took what she heard and she's doing something with it.
But this is what I'm saying though about
Incredible.
you being inspiring and not even sharing your specifics, but by you pursuing your own genius, your own skill set, your own
Yeah, I was
strength.
just talking about career because I did
And
a lot of talks about career management.
yeah,
Yes.
it changed someone's trajectory.
And that's one individual who happened to now I know a name, I see the name, but there could be so many others. And so I
Yeah,
want to inspire everybody again that's here to
yeah.
say, do your thing, keep it going, one foot in front of the other, because some days when you think oh, who cares? No, but people will care and people are benefiting from what you're doing and just seeing that you're doing it and getting through.
What would you say? Like, I won't say give me three, solutions. I know you focus on solutions, but what's one thing you would say to someone who's listening right now and they're at a crossroads? They're looking at changing their career or moving in a new way. Is there anything they could do with your company, one of your companies, or any program they should look at to help them
Yeah.
make that transition?
Yeah, I think that the first thing that any of us at any stage wants to do when you're looking at it, if you're at a crossroads, is to stay open to learning. Stay open to learning because sometimes, not sometimes, perhaps all the time, when we learn the new thing, it helps us discover parts of ourselves that we didn't know, or discover parts of ourselves that we didn't know in the same in a way that we need to know. In
Yes.
terms of one of our supports or solutions that can help, I look to, if you are an HR professional, Canadian HR Academy, and we have a master's degree, a master's diploma. It's not a degree, it's a diploma. It's the Executive Talent Management Master's Diploma. If you are an HR or people in culture professional, this gives you the strategic HR perspective on all things people, but it also gives you the business acumen to help make a difference from a business perspective. So that program, the Executive Talent Management Master's Diploma, is excellent for changing the game, for opening up a whole new trajectory if you're in the people and culture space. It's applicable and useful for anybody at any level in the people and culture space, especially for those who are looking to advance and perhaps lead the function. If you're someone who's an early stage manager, maybe you don't have people responsibilities yet, but you're looking to eventually get people responsibilities, then our Leadership Edge program can be found and seen at cdnhr.com. That's one of our corporate programs. So those are two programs that I would ask people to take a look at if you're looking to open up your game and to unleash the strongest and best part of the reason you're here on Earth.
Dr. Caroline, there are a few other really juicy things I need to talk to you about. And, one of them is, gosh, how do you think the learning landscape in the new workplace has changed?
Yeah, I think that the predominant thing that I'm seeing is that there's been a shift somehow from classroom-based static training to more a dynamic, personalized learning elements, is what we call it, learning elements that are personalized for each learner so that people can take what they're picking up and apply it to their day-to-day work immediately. Learning is also shifting in a way that we're seeing that it's becoming more social, so peer-based, so from one person to the other in a workplace setting. So I learn something, I teach you, you learn something, you teach me. We're both now architects in each other's learning. We are both now invested in each other's success. And that
I love that.
Ultimately helps relationships at work.
And it helps relationships at work, but it also then helps to create psychological safety.
For sure. Because now we both feel confident in that we each know something. You're not the purveyor of all knowledge. I can help you too.
Right. And then that sort of those are the building blocks for collaboration and continued growth.
Exactly.
How does this weave into or weave out of your philosophy around adult learning, equity, and human-centered leadership?
I think it actually supports it, because if we look at equity in adult learning as getting people what they need when they need it, knowing that we all have different needs, one size isn't going to fit all, then when I learn from you something that I need that you can give me, it meets me and it's personalized.
Yes.
And vice versa. So it actually, in fact, to have human-centered learning, we need to have it be personalized because it has to have the human at the center. So this is one of the shifts, one of the changes that I'm seeing in workplaces. It's no longer one size fits all in a classroom. It is very much with the learner, the learner at the center. And there's also a movement to getting us to help each other.
See, this feels as though it's the next evolution of wellness, in the sense that rather than wellness being something you're offering your employee or your employee team, it's integrated. So it's human-centered, weaved into the workplace.
It is. And it's taken off, it's gotten traction in the post-pandemic era, because post-pandemic era, there's a greater need for organization to design systems that support employee well-being. Not that that wasn't important before, but now what keeps a person tethered to an organization is, among other things, how do I feel when I work there? Pre-pandemic, that existed, but pre-pandemic, the focus was probably primarily on the dollars. What are you paying me?
Yes.
Now it is certainly what you're paying me, of course, still, but as an employee, but it's also, do you trust me? Do I align with your purpose? Does your culture resonate with me? So employees in a post-pandemic era are asking more of themselves and asking more of the places for which they work, and for which they've signed up to work.
Do you think that helps with corporate burnout? Or do you think, because we have a burnout problem.
Ooh, I completely agree with you. We certainly do. I don't know that it helps or hinders, but what I know is that it certainly helps people feel better about the culture and the work and the work itself. The idea of corporate burnout, whether it's as an employee or as an entrepreneur, this is real, it exists. And I think what drives that is a whole different thing. I think that is just, if you can think about this concept that I will talk about. It's, the hum of industry,
Yes.
the gear, the gears, the little gears.
Yes.
The hum of industry,
Mm.
that is ever, ever loud. It is ever on and it's ever loud. And it's the hum, the hum, the hum, the hum,
Yes.
the gears, the gears, the gears.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that movement and that sound is what drives burnout, because we have to keep going and
Yeah.
going and going and going. And some people are able to modulate the going and going with elements of self-care, but some people don't, and
Mm.
just keep going and going and going and go. And that is the burnout. That is what drives the burnout state. So
Mm.
notwithstanding human-centered leadership, people can
Yes.
still
Yes.
find themselves burned out.
But isn't it impossible to not be burnt out right now? If no, but just because of the speed of technology and what AI is changing for every organization and their infrastructure, burnout, it seems, is a natural outcome. Then is it the responsibility of the organization to figure out how to insert wellness in
Yeah.
different
I
areas?
love that. I love that. I think that the organization has some degree of responsibility for creating structures internally that support their people's well-being, sure.
Yeah.
So I mean structures that are things like days off, time off, number of hours of work per day, and so forth. So
Yes, yes.
organizations have to have some of those things for sure, more so than they even did in the past, because they always had, but more so. But I think the bigger piece of that, Shay, has to be personal. Right? We have some choices to make. We have some
Mm,
choices to make. And at the end of the day, health is the greatest wealth.
yes.
And
Yeah.
health is not just physical health, it's mental health. It's all the different types of ways that we can be healthy. And so the employees, the people, have to make choices.
Yes.
And this is where boundaries come in. Boundaries, respectful boundaries come in around how much we give and how, when, and how much we take on, and understanding that no is a full sentence and we don't need to explain in some of those things.
No is a full sentence. What do you do for your wellness, for your sense of clarity? Because you're driving a
Yeah,
multi-dimensional ecosystem.
completely.
What is it wellness for you?
Yeah. So I chuckle when you ask the question because, I came up as a corporate person and, big blue corporate. And so I talk about that gear and the drums,
Yeah.
the hum. So completely, yeah, long hours for decades on end. Where I am now is not where I've always been, but where I am now is every morning I'm going to give you a granular, like tell you what I do.
Your daily ritual. Is that what you're
Every
going to share with us?
Yes, I am. Every morning, I have a meditation practice. Yeah, yeah. And for your listeners, because I hope that this will give people opportunity to think of things creatively. So meditation doesn't necessarily always mean you sit there and go, hmm. You don't necessarily. It can be you put on. I listen to I have an app that I
Yes.
follow, and it can be you're getting ready. It can be you're in the shower. It can be but it's on, and even though you may not be sitting and going, hmm. I actually listen to it though. I do listen to, and when they're talking about breathe, I breathe and I
Yeah.
stop and I do the box breathing and I follow. I listen to when the music
Yes.
is soothing. I listen. So it is true. I find that it shifts my gears. It shifts me. It shifts me. So
Yes.
I do that every morning. Every morning. A second thing that I do in terms of wellness is I have a daily movement practice. Daily movement practice. I work out 6 days per week, and on the seventh day I rest, but I work out 6 days per week. And I don't share, again, for everybody who's here, I do that not because I feel like it, because sometimes I don't. So it's not based on motivation, it's based on discipline and commitment. Because if I were to wait until I felt like it,
Yes.
sometimes now, because it's been a few years, and now I do feel like it frequently because
Yes.
I actually enjoy it. But
Yes.
it isn't about feeling.
Yeah.
It's about, and I will take the word, I mean, sure, it's discipline, but I'll take the word discipline out because I don't want to put anybody off. It is really, for me, if we put discipline out, it's about consistency, because what I found and what I want people to latch on to is the idea that when we are consistent, we build momentum. And on the days when our motivation wanes and fails us, it's the momentum that carries you through. And
I
so,
love the word discipline. So because discipline is
okay,
a practice, but I agree with you. I think what you're saying though also is that you have to build a kind of wellness scaffolding
yeah.
for yourself in
Yes, you
order to
do.
maintain your
Yes,
mental, physical,
yes.
and emotional well-being.
You could not say it any better than that. That is it. Because I
Yes.
think that responsibility, although the employer has some responsibilities, I think at the end of the day, we need to figure out what we're going to do for ourselves.
Listen, we're out of time, but we need to come back and we need to talk about this because I don't think we can talk enough about the need and the how of inserting wellness. It feels as though also your purpose and your meaning are integrated in your work, and your wellness is how you support yourself in doing that.
Of course, because if I am not well enough to be here, if I'm not well, I can't provide the service to the universe and to anybody that I'm trying to do. The first thing that we need to concern ourselves about is taking care of self. You
Yeah.
go on the airplane, they say put your mask on first.
Yes. And the self is it's the spiritual self.
Of course.
There's this unique self that's in us.
Of course. In fact, we have to come back
I
because
know we have to come
we
back.
have to come back because so this what I see of you and what you see of me, this is flesh, this is body. The
Yes.
body, this is not me. The body embodies
Yes.
myself, my soul, this soul is what I am talking about. So that soul and that self combined is the silent witness. The silent
Yeah.
witness is the one that is there, that sees the fact that you said you were going to work out today and you didn't.
Yes. And the silent witness is the one that sees you suffering when others cannot.
Yes, and the silent witness is the one that we each of us needs to, at the end of the day or in the morning or whatever time you do, that we need to ask, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling? That person. Because there is the part of us that does what we need to do and get it done. But how are you feeling? How are you feeling? Inside. That's
I love it. Dr. Carolyn, I'm going to let you go, but can you think about something for me? I would love to have some of your educators or leaders back on the show. If we could do something, I think that would be really helpful to a lot of people who are just exploring, transitioning, trying to decide where they put their flag in terms of the next educational process they go through.
absolutely. We can look at converting on that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and just, always so generous, always so
Thank you.
generous, always so deeply thoughtful. I admire you. I respect you. I love how you're shaking things up. And I truly appreciate you being here on Let's Talk.
Thank you, Shay. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I was looking forward to this conversation. I knew it would be as delightful as it has been. And I wish you continued success. And to all of the listeners and viewers, I wish you as well continued success.
Thank you so much. Ciao for now.
My friends, thank you for joining me on Let's Talk, produced by Wise Mindly Inc. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take action, reflect, or embrace on a new way of thinking, on a new path. And if you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully you did, don't forget to subscribe, share, and even leave a review. Reviews matter. They allow us to do way more than we're doing now. Let's continue the journey of growth and well-being together. Until next time, I'm Coach Shay Marville. Stay connected, stay curious, and let's keep talking.